Happy Friday, everyone. Thank you for joining. We have some folks trickling in. I appreciate everyone taking their time to connect with us today for a very important conversation with a very special guest and Ben from the Giving Block. So we will introduce him shortly, but as people do trickle in, I just wanted to welcome Zachary, Way, longtime supporters. It's great to see you as well. And let's just kind of get started into it, folks. So if you are new here, wanted to cover some ground rules. The first thing that we will never do is ever directly talk about anything that is financial advice related. And this is a safe space. I encourage everyone to join in and partake in this conversation. And if it's something that's probably a little bit too spicy for a family dinner, then we may want to avoid that here. But without further ado, I'd like to welcome you, Ben, to the podcast. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Treasure.
Thank you for being here. So, time is of the essence, and I'm sure this will be a interesting conversation. There's so many things to cover with the topics of blockchain and philanthropy. So, let's just jump into it here. Give us a 30-second to a minute elevator pitch about who you are and your current role in the organization you represent, and then we're going to bring it back to the genesis of when this all started back in 2014, I believe it was. So, tell the audience who you are and what you're all about.
Yeah. So my name is Ben Pousty. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at the Giving Block. And what we do at the Giving Block is we help nonprofits accept and successfully fundraise cryptocurrency donations. My personal journey, I started in the crypto space in 2014. I started at a company called ItBit, now Paxos, and worked there as a direct marketing. From there, moved on and spent time working at Fidelity on the Fidelity Digital Assets project and working on that go-to-market. Spent some time at Circle working on USDC and a lot of exciting projects that they were launching relative to tokenization, and learned a lot there. And my most recent job is at the Giving Block, which I started at in 2021. I've been there for 3 years tomorrow.
Wow, coming up. Wow, I'm almost at my 3 year anniversary as well too. Serendipitous for sure. So, talk to us a little bit, Ben, about your transition from working in the crypto industry. I mean, I consider you to be an OG. Really, 10 years is like a lifetime in this space. But transitioning from the quote unquote more kind of traditional type of things that people think about with cryptocurrency and blockchain to then working for a organization that is focused on philanthropy. How did you make that jump, and what were some of the things that were going on in your life to even make you have that kind of connection or admiration?
Yeah, I mean, working on the exchange side, working on the trading side was fascinating. Learned a ton. I was an economics major in college, and something that I was always very passionate about. And it's kind of a big piece of what drew me to Bitcoin and crypto, and learned a lot about markets and just the dynamics of how cryptocurrencies move, and how the behaviors of users and traders. And that experience was incredibly valuable as I then took the leap into the philanthropy side of the business, of the industry, trying to kind of solicit the same kind of behaviors of action. In this case, rather than folks trying to make money, folks using crypto to pay it forward, but using a lot of those learnings to kind of engage with the very similar audiences. So, a crypto donor is often a crypto investor. It's often a crypto trader. So in many ways, I was kind of dealing with a lot of the same folks, which was great. And I think like the interesting part of the journey has been more kind of learning what nonprofits need out of the crypto space, and what their fears were, what their pain points are, and getting them comfortable with this technology. And that was something that I think I could draw on a lot of my past experience, kind of working with new crypto users and trying to grow crypto adoption amongst folks to buy crypto in the early days, and kind of bringing that same spirit to the philanthropy space. And what really made me make the jump was personally, my wife and I, we co-founded a nonprofit in 2017 called Project Phil. We help we support students and families across the Philippines, providing scholarships, food, and different types of aid to those communities. And having that background, having an understanding of how nonprofits work, um, and really having a passion for making an impact. Coming to the Giving Block was a no-brainer once the opportunity arose, because it really allowed me to combine my two passions, philanthropy and crypto, into a career, which is more than I could have ever asked for.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Are there any immediate type of parallels that you've been able to, I would say, recognize when you started working at the Given Block, being that you had that experience of, doing your own nonprofit? What are some of the lessons that were learned that were easy to transfer?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest lesson, yeah, working with nonprofits is there just aren't enough hands to do the work. Every nonprofit, it runs lean. There's a lot of volunteers with a ton of spirit, trying to make as big of impact as possible. And and when it comes to financializing crypto and incorporating that into your business, there's a lot of operational lift. And I think like the biggest thing that drew me to the Giving Block was just the business model. And the focus for us is always to make accepting and fundraising cryptocurrency as easy as possible for our nonprofits. And the way that we do that is by giving our nonprofits a form that allows them to easily add the ability to accept crypto to their website. Makes it super easy for their donors to give that crypto. And once they give that crypto, we actually do all of the auto conversion of the cryptocurrency to US dollars in the back end, and then shoot it to their bank account. And when I was learning about the Giving Block, this is the key thing for me, and the key pain point that I learned in my nonprofit journey as a founder, that really was a light bulb, and really kind of that really kind of sold me on this idea and of crypto philanthropy, and the ability for us to really scale this business and really grow this category. Unfortunately, it's materialized.
It's coming to fruition. That's beautiful. Now, let's talk a little bit more specifically about the Giving Block and your time there. You know, walk me down a kind of, I would say, a scenario, right? A nonprofit, they are looking to utilize crypto and use that to help with their fundraising efforts. So let's just say that I'm the American Cancer Society, right? How does this all work out? Do they approach you? Do you approach them? What's I would say, a standard kind of life cycle from you originally being interested in that organization, or the organization being interested in utilizing your services, to actually making, transactions and these type of, donations, being able to convert it to crypto?
That's a great question. Yes, I think the two most successful channels for us, we put a lot of time and effort into building up our SEO. So a lot of our nonprofit clients actually find us through search, and that's probably been our most successful channel. We also, we are on the road at events. We do a lot of partnership webinars. So we really try to take a proactive approach to engaging the nonprofit community, and really being present in the conversation at nonprofit events. And so, that's those are probably the key areas. We either kind of meet them virtually through search, or we meet them more in person via webinars and field events. And then the typical life cycle, we have a really dedicated sales team. They spend time doing demos with our nonprofits to kind of walk them through what the whole process looks like. What I described earlier around the donation form, the acceptance process. We get them comfortable, and we get them comfortable at the door, and then we have a really kind of intensive onboarding and activation process that we put them through, where we teach them about kind of fundraising, the best ways to set up their pages for search optimization, and we try to be very hands-on with our nonprofits in the first 90 days to really get them educated about crypto, get their teams educated about crypto, and then get their websites set up for success. And then our nonprofits work with us in a variety of ways. We have thousands of nonprofits from all over the world that we're really proud to call clients, large and small, from the Save the Children, the American Cancer Societies, the local community foundations, and each of them kind of have different ambitions. They have different amount of time to spend on growing their crypto fundraising. Some engage with us in custom consulting engagements where we will work with them one-to-one to build out a really detailed fundraising plan and strategy specifically for cryptocurrency. Others will just kind of will use our services and attend our webinars and expert series events to continue to kind of self-service and grow. But, we try to, what the key for us is just building services that are malleable and that allow us to meet our customers' needs, whatever those might be, large or small.
That's awesome, Ben. Thanks. And in terms of this technology and how much it's been able to make of an impact to these different, nonprofits and organizations, schools, universities, etc. Talk to me a little bit about like how much money has actually been raised with cryptocurrency donations. Are the contributions, are they typically small? Are they larger than normal? Really just help me understand like what's the actual impact of this service.
Yeah, I mean, I always say, crypto philanthropy is probably the most kind of underreported successful use case for cryptocurrency, in my opinion.
How so?
At the Giving Block, since 2018, when we were founded, we've processed over $200 million now in cryptocurrency donations. Fidelity Charitable has been processing Bitcoin donations since 2015, and they've processed over 300 million. There's just been so much impact made through cryptocurrencies, and I just don't think it's as mainstream. Generally when you think of crypto, you think of investing, you think of trading, and of course there's a lot of activities, a lot of amazing technology being built to facilitate crypto markets, but there's also just a ton of activity occurring after folks make their millions. And the generosity of the crypto community is just something that doesn't get enough attention. And the willingness of folks in the crypto space, whether they be traders, investors, NFT artists, folks that run DAOs, their willingness to kind of pay it forward once they find success has just been incredible to see. So, this year we've already processed nearly $40 million in cryptocurrency donations. Wow. and counting. A majority of our fundraising that our nonprofits do and that we process usually happens in kind of the last 3 months of the year. So, thinking this could be a pretty big year as long as the markets cooperate and things continue to trend in the right direction. But I think oftentimes when I mention this, folks are pretty surprised by the size and scale of crypto philanthropy and how fast it's growing. And my hope is doing these types of podcasts really get the word out, because there's definitely something special happening here in this category.
Yeah, I think so for sure. And speaking about the markets, right? When you're in this space, especially someone like you see these major fluctuations, and I mean, at this point, it doesn't honestly faze me anymore. It kind of is what it is. But the people that are new to this, they may see these crazy fluctuations. And, I know from my experience of working in a traditional nonprofit organization that when the markets are impacted and, the overall economy is not doing the best, that is somehow sometimes directly correlated to, the amount of donors or the actual, contributions out there. So it sounds as if this is on pace to kind of be a record-setting year for you. So talk to me a little bit about like the socioeconomical kind of factors or the other type of things that, you potentially see as an impact, or maybe things that maybe aren't as much of an impact as they would probably be on a traditional type of nonprofit or organization.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for sure, we found that crypto fundraising does follow crypto markets. The fact is, when pockets are flush and people have more money, they're more willing to give, and that's just a reality whether we're talking about traditional fundraising or crypto fundraising. And I think that in terms of like kind of the motivations of crypto donors, I think it kind of breaks out into two buckets. The first is we have a lot of really generous crypto traders who both choose to pay it forward, but also you utilize cryptocurrency donations to offset capital gains and to really, lower their tax burdens,
Mm.
which is totally fine. That happens in the traditional fundraising space as well with tax deductible donations. So we see a lot of that behavior, and of course, we see more of those types of donations from those donors once they've made more money. So a positive market is good for everybody. The second is more on the NFT artist and the other types of more kind of like creative participants in the Web3 space. We do a lot of partnerships with NFT artists, NFT marketplaces, DAOs, and a lot of other folks across the Web3 space. And for them, in a lot of cases, it's just folks that never expected to have this type of money. They never expected their squiggle to sell for $100,000, and they want to pay it forward, and their motivation is much more just kind of like generosity. They often are folks that have specific causes and nonprofits that are really near and dear to their heart that we'll hook them up with, and they'll do activations for. They'll do NFT collections for. A lot of cool things that we've done with our partners over the years. And so those are probably the two kind of like key crypto donor personas that we've seen.
Now, talk to me a little bit more about your role specifically, Ben, and the team that you've been a part of, and some of the other things that you have kind of coming up on the roadmap. So, if you can, I know that this is maybe a bit of an unfair question, but help us understand a day in the life of a chief operating officer, and really, what that entails, and the main roles, and responsibilities that you kind of encounter on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. Yeah, I think a COO is a rather malleable job. It means a lot. It means different things in different organizations.
Yeah.
I think my two chief responsibilities of the Giving Block is to make sure the trains are running on time up and down the organization, and to make sure I'm putting people in a position to be successful. And that's really the two core tenets that I bring into my job, and I hold myself accountable to every day. So, my typical day, my mornings are spent doing kind of like analysis on where we stand from a revenue perspective and what performance is looking like on the growth side of things, and client satisfaction is looking like. We have a structure where we have a lot of team one-on-ones, which are awesome. So I get a lot of face time with our nonprofit vertical teams across growth and our client journey. So, over the course of each week, I get, in the weeds and get a really good kind of direct sense of what we're doing, what's going well, what's not going well, helping to kind of create better structures internally and better processes for us to execute, and to identify, challenges and things that are kind of slowing us down, and alleviate those. And so, that's, we're still, we were acquired. The Green Block was acquired in March of 2022 by Shift4, a publicly traded company. So we're not a private startup anymore, but Shift4 is an awesome parent company. They give us a lot of space to operate and do our thing. And so we still have maintained a startup spirit. We still run, we still have a very dynamic, fast culture. So no 2 days are the same. I'm always taking on different challenges, which is something I love about my job. But at work, I'm sure a lot of you folks work at startups, and it's more of just kind of jumping into whatever is needed that day, that week, to put the company in a position to be successful.
Yeah, wearing many hats is definitely a prerequisite to, I think, working in this industry and whatever your title is. And I'm really glad to hear that, Ben, because sometimes with acquisitions, especially in the nonprofit space, it can really change the culture and the mission of what's going on there. And it doesn't sound like that's the case. So that's wonderful to hear, for sure. When it comes to this, I want to talk a little bit about some of the benefits of utilizing this technology, and specifically when it comes to blockchain. So one of the things that really kind of comes to mind for me is, the enhanced trust and accountability. So can you talk a little bit about how blockchain can make that something that people will probably have a little bit less of a concern about when it comes to donations and working with different nonprofits, because sometimes it's really hard to actually know if the money that you're giving is going to the cause or the people that you intend it to. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, and this is a common issue across philanthropy that people raise, which is is my money getting where it needs to go? And I think this is one of the key roles that we play as kind of like a trusted as a trusted partner to our nonprofits, is not only making sure that their donations are facilitated in a compliant manner, um, and, um, uh, and delivered to the nonprofit with like receipts and on-chain tracking, but also giving them that peace of mind that they don't have to take on the operational lift. And this was always kind of a big piece of the issue of why nonprofits didn't get into accepting cryptocurrency donations prior to 2017.
Hmm.
Was this kind of um, was this kind of like trust gap. And so I think like, for now, I think right now we serve that purpose, but there's a lot of amazing companies out there that are kind of taking it to the next level, like Endowment and a couple of others that, are really leaning into on-chain giving. They're one of our partners and we support them. And what blockchains are going to do is they just kind of knock down the barriers between um, money movement, and that's no different in the charitable space either. There's been this idea of direct giving for many years, and direct giving has been very successful and also has had a lot of issues. Blockchains can, I think, really help to facilitate much more pace and much more, much more direct giving between folks than has ever happened before, eliminating some of those barriers that come with banking and making it easier to get money to folks that are unbanked.
Yeah.
So,
No,
yeah,
go for it. Sorry about that.
no, I think that's
Good way to leave it there. So,
yeah, we'll leave it there. Yeah.
also too, I think that the speed of this, and can we talk about potentially the cost savings? As a nonprofit, a lot of smaller nonprofits, the larger ones are definitely probably in a better financial situation, but some of the smaller ones, they're trying to save money and at every opportunity they possibly can. So, utilizing, are working with you per se, are there significant cost savings that these nonprofits are able to kind of see immediately, or what's the kind of time frame of working with you to actually them seeing the benefits of utilizing your service?
Yeah, it's not as much about cost savings, but the
Okay.
growing fundraising revenue. I think that's the key thing here is whether it's traditional fundraising or whatever kind of fundraising that's occurring, there's always going to be a cost to it.
Hmm.
Whether it's in processing, whether it's in the folks that are required to operate the business, to kind of facilitate those donations, be out on the folks that are knocking on doors. I think the key thing with crypto fundraising is that it becomes very additive and it becomes another supplemental, future forward, very innovative fundraising revenue stream for these nonprofits. And it essentially is found money, right? This is money that they never knew existed from a channel that is net new, from a community that is generally younger, more generous than some of these nonprofits who have much older, kind of like aging donor bases. What crypto philanthropy is really able to provide, especially to a lot of large nonprofits where the average donor age, and I was shocked by this figure when I first started really getting into the philanthropic space, but the average donor age for a lot of larger nonprofits is somewhere between 55 and 57.
Yeah.
And when you think about the crypto industry, the average age of the U.S. crypto user is 36 to 38, and that's amazing. So these kinds of young donors, they're coveted, and so as a nonprofit, you're getting both a new revenue stream that supplements your cash fundraising, and you're getting access to a whole new generation of donors that maybe they're giving crypto today, perhaps they give you cash tomorrow, but it really helps to kind of create to grow the donor base and also add youth to the donor base, which is super important for the sustainability of these nonprofits.
Yeah, that's huge. It's a good to make that point there, and that leads a little bit to my next question about just the increased accessibility of this, right? So, do you ever feel that the global reach of blockchain, I mean, could you ever see it creating any kind of challenges when it comes to navigating the regulatory environments, depending on the particular area that you are? Or have you ever experienced anything or complications so far with like cross-border philanthropy?
Fortunately, we haven't too much. I mean, there's without getting into too much in the way of details, regulatory issues are unavoidable in the crypto space, especially when there's money being moved around, especially when you're working with international orgs. And we've been very fortunate to have good exchange partners that we work with to facilitate the auto conversion of crypto to US dollars and the then getting those US dollars quickly to our nonprofits where they can make an impact. And yeah, the regulatory environment can be challenging. Some jurisdictions are certainly more friendly than others. And so I think like any other crypto company we've seen, we've had more, I think us personally, have focused a little bit more on the US, and I think the US has been our strongest market. And as a U.S. company, it's our easiest market to navigate. But certainly, we have seen some challenges on the back end, especially when it comes to ultimately getting money to some of our international nonprofits that might be in a country that might not be as friendly to cryptocurrency donations, to cryptocurrency in general, or be more strongly regulated. So, my hope is that as time goes on, and crypto adoption grows, the word of the people, kind of prevails, and crypto donations, crypto banking is more normalized and becomes, just as easy as banking with cash. So.
I hope so too. So
Yeah.
we do have a couple of folks here in the audience that are patiently waiting, so I will bring them up in the order that they were here. Prem is up, and then we're going to bring up Thomas as well too. So thank you all for joining. Prem, you're on stage. What's your question for us today?
Thank you, Ben. You had explained everything right about the cryptocurrency. So I'll just talk about a little bit about myself. I have been into the non-profit organization since I would say 2010. Right, it's been almost 15 plus year journey working with the non-profit organizations. I still in a lot of contract I'm working with. So I'm running as a consulting company, as a technology company, a financial technology company, focused to the non-profit organization. So I think this can add a lot of values to the non-profit organizations. I have one question to the Ben. Like, how does the non-profit organizations see that fund is coming as like the crypto, right? As a crypto form?
Your
How,
mic, your
but
mic's a little. You're breaking up a little bit there, Prem. Your mic, if you want
okay. Yes, Trevor. Yeah, okay,
to.
thank you.
Okay.
So my question is to the Ben, right? So how this money coming to the non-profit organizations in form of cryptocurrency? So can they use it because it's a lot of vendor they have, and so they look for money to pay. So will that the cryptocurrency is going to convert into the USD? That is my first question. And the second questions I have, so how does it like now US federal is gonna support? Because I haven't seen it since I'm working for a non-profit organizations, right? So how the regulations is, because so whenever the non-profit organizations receive the funds, they want to make sure very clearly where this fund is coming from. Yeah. So just only two questions I have, Ben, today. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Prem. Yeah, the first question. What we do is we convert the cryptocurrency that's received from donors to U.S. dollars, and so the nonprofits that work with us are just receiving U.S. dollars in their bank accounts, and so that kind of that makes that process a lot easier and takes away a lot of the operational lift that would be required for them to hold and convert the crypto donations themselves. And then as far as kind of the regulatory piece of it, we work with our exchange partners to also do all of the appropriate kind of like scanning of OFAC sanctioned wallet addresses, and we handle all of that in the course of the transaction. So if there are any transactions that come through, the crypto donation transactions are treated like any other transaction. If there's anything that comes through that's malicious or raises any red flags, those are kind of taken care of on the back end, and so that we are able to protect our nonprofits from that perspective.
That's awesome. That just makes me think of something else too. So it's converted, to a US dollar denominated stable coin. Are you all using basically like USDC? Because that tends to, I would say, have a little bit more regulatory clarity versus like a USDT that is still kind of, up for debate across the globe, right? So which of those two are you using? And is there also an opportunity, Ben, to, partner up with the likes of, a Chainalysis or a TRM or something of that nature to, really kind of help reduce some of the legwork when it comes to verifying these type of transactions, if they're coming from actually legitimate players or not,
So actually, we aren't converting, just to be clear. What we do is we take the cryptocurrency, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or even a stable coin like USDC and USDT, and we convert it to fiat currency.
Okay,
we convert
okay.
Yeah, so we convert it to physical US dollars, and it's the physical US dollars are then wired or transferred to the nonprofits' bank accounts. And that's the secret sauce. So we make it super easy for these nonprofits to accept cryptocurrency but never have to touch cryptocurrency, because it's
Bingo.
Yep, that's the operational lift that just had always been the pain point for them. And as far as like working with Chainalysis, which is an awesome company, we get the benefit of that working with the exchanges. So when those donations are coming in, all of those all those appropriate kind of compliance, all that appropriate like compliance is done by our exchange partners, making sure that none of the sanctioned wallet addresses or anything that raises any red flags is making it through. And that we're getting a full view into everything that's coming through, so that once those US dollars go to our nonprofits, it is clean money that has been converted from the cryptocurrency that was donated.
Love that. Thank you for clearing that up a little bit there. Hopefully I'm not the only one that had that question in the audience, and that brought a little bit more context to it, Ben, so thank you. Now, next up is Thomas. Thomas, thank you. And what's your question for us today?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Trevor. Thanks for being here today, Ben. Appreciate your time. Given you've been in this industry for 10 years, and given I've taken a recent interest in the cryptocurrency, I hope this question isn't too far, of course. What do you think is a strategic avenue for fresh business graduates excited about the cryptocurrency space to break into the industry? And if you were to do it all over again, I guess, how would you do that? Whether it be economics, marketing, or some other form of the industry.
I think a great way to break in, and I think something that was really helpful for me, was just going to conferences and meeting people. It's a very interactive industry, and people are really willing to have the conversation. And there's always a need for professional skills like business skills and marketing. A lot more, bringing that kind of bringing those kinds of skills to these companies that are scaling really quickly is always going to be in demand. But I would definitely encourage, going to events, local meetups. I used to go to a lot of meetups in New York City, where I live. Back in 2013, 2014, met a lot of really interesting people. Getting involved on Twitter, I think is also kind of like a good way to break through. There's been a lot of people that have been able to show their expertise and build an audience on Twitter, and that's how they've kind of met a lot of different companies and found different types of work that they've done within the space. But it's just, I think if you have an interest in this space, I think it's all about just getting out there, meeting people, continuing to learn about it, And then, looking to see what opportunity is best for you. And if I could have done it all over again, I don't think I would have changed a thing. I mean, for me, it was very organic. And I got really fortunate to find a role that was a good fit for my expertise at the time. And, a little scary taking the leap into cryptocurrency back in 2014. It was a little bit of a little bit more of the Wild West back then. But fortunately now, I think there's a lot more opportunities out there. There's a lot of great companies that are hiring. And I think, you can go into the industry now with a lot more, with a lot more specificity around what you want to do, whether it be, helping to grow the NFT sector or getting into RWAs and really trying to grow the real world assets, or getting into crypto philanthropy. There's just so many more avenues to get in and so much more to do. So I think, in short, would really encourage you to get out there, meet the community, build connections, and I think the rest will take care of itself.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for that question, Thomas. And one thing I noticed that you also did too, Ben, was that you turned your passion into your profession. So I applaud you on that as well. Next question is Patrick. If there's anyone else in the audience as well too, please feel free to raise your hand. We'll do our best to get you in here. And then we'll kind of get back to some questions that I had in mind, but love people chiming in here. So Patrick, welcome to the show. How may we assist you?
Yes. Thanks, Trevor, for hosting this. Ben, for offering your time as well. Just kind of echoing that sentiment. I'll keep it quick here. Quick background of me. I'm actually a software engineer. Spent the last decade in the healthcare space, but I'm also launching and building a platform in the generosity charitable giving space called Generous, taking more of the bend of creating tools that actually empower the giver, which I feel is kind of an often underserved participant in the philanthropic process. How can we create tools that truly empower them? So with that said, quick question. I think you answered the first part of it. Whenever you're donating crypto to Giving Block, you guys are converting that to its whatever the crypto's value is at that time, and so it converts to USD. My real question is, have you guys been thinking, kind of post donation, lack of a better term, kind of supply chain, like offering transparency into how resources are being used after the fact within the nonprofits? Has there been any sentiment there that you guys have heard or just thought about? That's my question, basically.
That's a great question. Yeah. So to be clear too, we're processing these donations on behalf of our clients. So not really donations coming to being given to the Giving Block, but we are processing them. And you nailed it. Like, that's one of the things that we advise our nonprofits to do is to create a journey for crypto donors where they can quantify the impact. And what we found is that's just been very successful. It's successful in traditional fundraising. It's successful in crypto fundraising, saying that, 1 Bitcoin builds 10 schools in Africa, right? Humanizing what that donation looks like, what that donation will do. Is a great way to drive more donations. So we spend a lot of time educating our nonprofits about kind of stewardship post-donation with crypto donors, speaking their language, being able to kind of quantify impact. Different nonprofits have different amounts of bandwidth to dedicate to it, but we've had a couple of nonprofits who have done this really well and have been super successful with the stewardship piece, which is always so important in the philanthropic journey.
Gotcha. No, thanks for answering that, and thanks for the time.
Of course.
Thank you, Patrick. Great question. I appreciate you. Something that I just thought about, Ben, is when it comes to, I would say, donations and nonprofits, there are those individuals out there that like the anonymity factor of that and being able to give rather large amounts without being known. And there are obviously, tax reporting and things that you need to do to offset your donation. So how does that work? I mean, are people still able to kind of do that as they traditionally are, or is that impossible being the transparency of blockchain? Kind of help me understand that.
Sure. Yeah, so we actually offer our nonprofits the ability to accept anonymous donations. And this is actually very popular among crypto donors. It's actually something that's very important to a lot of our crypto donors. There's a lot of crypto donors that we have that donate anonymously from different parts of the world where perhaps they're being persecuted or they're in very difficult situations. One really powerful example of this, a note that we received, was a group of women in Afghanistan donating to a nonprofit that empowers women's education in that part of the world, but doing it anonymously using Bitcoin, so that it wouldn't be known to the community that they were helping to support this particular nonprofit that in that part of the world is a bit controversial. And so, there's been countless stories like that of kind of crypto donations that have been done anonymously that have really empowered different folks. And it's an option we offer to all of our nonprofits, so that when a donor comes through on their crypto donor form, rather than giving a name, they just can simply say anonymous and make that crypto donation from their wallet without having to disclose any personal information. It's up to the nonprofit whether they want to offer anonymous donations, and they will then indicate that in their gift acceptance policy. But anonymity is super important. Privacy is like a fundamental piece of cryptocurrency and the crypto industry, and it's something that we want to preserve as we build out crypto philanthropy and make it like a real important piece of that.
I think that's super important, Ben. But I want to play a little bit devil's advocate, and there are a lot of criticisms about cryptocurrency, unfortunately, being portrayed in the traditional media, that it's being linked to illicit activities, terrorism, etc. Right?
Sure.
So, are there any other type of particular safeguards that the Giving Block has in place to ensure that these donations are kind of legitimate from unethical sources? And do you ever kind of foresee anything in the future where, there could be kind of a government overreach or a regulatory situation where, they'll demand to know where these actual funds are coming from and how it's being moved on chain? Has that ever kind of popped into your mind, or, am I thinking a little bit too negatively?
No, you can never think too negatively. You gotta always be ready for anything. But fortunately, we haven't come across that, and hopefully we'll never get to a place where that is required. That just feels like we wouldn't be in a good place if those kinds of things are happening. But even for anonymous donations, the crypto donation, the wallet addresses themselves are always scanned and monitored thoroughly. So, we have a good sense with our exchange partners of wallets that are compromised, wallet addresses that are, like you said, working for terror, that are involved in terrorism financing. These lists are constantly updated. So whether the individual is disclosing name or not, that's kind of what you were getting to before. There's a level of transparency in the blockchain that companies like Chainalysis and the major exchanges are able to kind of follow that trail to ensure that these crypto donations are coming from ethical, clean sources. So the anonymity piece, I think, is really important for the individual. But of course, our safeguards for our nonprofits, that's always like a top priority for us. So those continue for all crypto donations, whether they're known or anonymous.
And are there any what's the kind of criteria, I would say? I was checking out your website and looking at some of the great nonprofits that you worked with before. Is there any criteria that is used to determine which of these organizations you do or do not partner with?
It's a great question. Yeah, so we take a lot of pride, especially in these polarized times, in being neutral in terms of taking on clients. So we have clients from both sides of the aisle politically, with all different types of points of view. But we do have some lines that we draw internally, when it comes to supporting different organizations. there's some we have an internal committee, and there's some the standards that we hold ourselves to are fundamental. We obviously don't work with hate groups. We don't work with groups that are causing any kind of harm or damage or looking to make a negative impact on society. And so we have had some instances where we have turned away some clients on those grounds. But generally, we try to, as long as the intent of the organization is genuine, we try to take a unbiased view and just help them kind of make an impact for the communities that they're trying to help.
Great. Thank you so much for that clarification. Another thing that kind of popped into my mind, Ben, that sometimes corporate philanthropy, I think that it draws sometimes skepticism in itself, but when it comes to crypto, people might be critical or questioning whether it's more about those actual tax advantages than the actual altruism. And I think that you were talking about that a little bit earlier. So how do you address these concerns that large crypto donations may be motivated more for just an individual or a corporation's financial benefit rather than the genuine social impact?
Yeah, it's a question that persists across the philanthropic space. I think probably even more so, honestly, in cash fundraising.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think different donors and companies and different participants in the philanthropic space, they all have different reasons for giving money. I think the most important thing to me is always that money that's being given for whatever reason by a donor is making it to the nonprofit and making an impact for those communities and those people that nonprofit is trying to help. Because that's the end goal at the end of the day. As long as there's no malicious intent around that donation, and of course that's certainly a gray area kind of a topic. The most important thing is that we get these funds in the door from folks that can afford to give to give money, which in and of itself is a privilege, and get it to the places where that money can be put to work to help the populations that need it the most.
I love that. So, we're almost coming up to a close here. I'm surprised at how fast this went by, but it always happens. It goes by really quickly. And we have about 13 minutes left. So I wanted just to kind of shift the focus a little bit more internally, Ben, talk a little bit more about some of the great things that are going on at the Giving Block right now, a little bit more about your roadmap, and tell us a little bit more about what's cooking in the kitchen.
Yeah. So, we're right now really gearing up for end of year. So this September to December period, especially November and December, are the most important time for our nonprofits in terms of fundraising. So, we've been working real hard through the summer, working directly one-to-one with a lot of our nonprofit clients, getting their pages set up, getting their campaigns ready, their social posts, all the things they need to be successful in fundraising cryptocurrency this giving season. We've also been doing a ton of partner outreach and gotten a lot of really positive, made a lot of positive connections on Web3 partnerships that we'll hopefully be able to, get over the line this year. Everything from fundraisers to integrations into platforms where there's a couple awesome platforms that want to integrate crypto giving directly into their user experience, which is just
Nice.
awesome. So we've been spending a lot of time on partnerships and exploring the opportunities out there to get more money into our nonprofits' pockets this giving season. And that's really been the focus. We also launched earlier this year a kind of strategic consulting business where we're taking on clients in a much more kind of one-to-one fashion, building more
Nice.
bespoke engagements with them, and really kind of taking our 6 years of crypto fundraising expertise and starting to really package it up and be able to kind of make it work in a tailored way for our clients, depending on, if they're looking to do a little bit more with their crypto philanthropy strategies and fundraising plans. So those are kind of the big ones for us, just really business as usual. And we've also, the other thing that we've been kind of working on over the last year and a half too is expanding beyond crypto. So we're also helping our nonprofits accept stock donations now, which has been really exciting and is starting to pick up, as well as funds from donor advised funds. So trying to kind of expand as well into like I said, kind of a similar theme. If cash fundraising is sort of the base foundation of a nonprofit's fundraising strategy, offering them different avenues, whether it be crypto or stocks or DAFs or whatever, what other financial assets may come in the future, giving them the ability to fundraise these like new innovative financial assets to supplement their fundraising.
That's really awesome. Thank you, Ben. Last question for me, and if there's anyone else in the audience, you have time to maybe pop up for one question, but if not, I will kind of close it up with a couple that I had. Is in terms of this gaining popularity, I think that philanthropy and utilizing cryptocurrency is once again another amazing use case, a real world use case, if you will, but there are people that are starting to kind of pick up on the trend. And with success of what you're doing, typically, others tend to follow. So do you ever do you look at it as more of an opportunity or more of a threat when some of these larger, I would say, entities or foundations start to kind of hear about what you're doing? And do you see that there's any risk of, a large conglomerate kind of coming in and dominating this space and taking any kind of, I would say, of your market share or the work that you've been able to do away?
It's always possible, but I mean, I think what we have going for us is that, when we launched in 2018, there were other, and there still are other options in terms of companies that nonprofits can work with to accept cryptocurrency donations. What differentiated us beyond really creating like a smooth, frictionless process and really kind of, creating a really strong kind of like pipeline of crypto to US dollars to the bank account, right? Which I think was the fundamental kind of pain point that we solved for.
Yep.
The way that we've really created our moat is by doubling down on helping our nonprofits successfully fundraise cryptocurrencies. And that's something that only the Giving Block is doing. So for us, we're not just going to give you our tools and our resource suite and then tell you to, good luck, go figure it out, go find some crypto donors. We've spent 6 years really getting our name out there in the crypto community, making the Giving Block brand a known commodity in the crypto community so that when donors think about crypto giving, we really want them thinking about the Giving Block and thinking about our nonprofits. We've spent a lot of time kind of building the playbook on how to fundraise cryptocurrency, because it's certainly different than fundraising cash or stock or or other financial assets. There's a different type of donor. There's a different type of community there's a different type of language, right? That you need to speak to engage with the crypto community. And then, I think every year we try to really build on that specific piece. Like, how can we get better at helping our nonprofits fundraise cryptocurrency? We started with just sort of one plan for everybody that included a lot of like kind of interactive webinars. We built that, then we kind of layered on top of that with what we call our 365 plans, which are nonprofits working specifically with our crypto philanthropy strategists to build crypto fundraising plans. And then this year, launching a more bespoke consulting where you can really get in the weeds with us one-to-one. We really pride ourselves on that piece. And that's really what is probably our key differentiator, is just the amount of crypto philanthropy knowledge that we've been able to kind of live the last 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years. Wow. And I'm just sitting here, 3 years coming up, and I'm just getting started, my friend. I think that 10 years is awesome. I congratulate you for all that you've been able to do so far. And in terms of how people like us that are listening are either maybe tuning into the recording a little bit in the future, how can we get involved? I see that you're doing a lot of great work and your cause is commendable, but how can we be involved? And is there anything else that you would like to mention here as a kind of a call to action? And lastly, if there are people that are looking to get involved with you, and whether it be joining your team on a professional capacity or volunteering or just keeping up to date with all that you're doing, how can one go about that?
Yeah, the easiest way to learn about us and follow us is visit our website, thegivingblock.com. We're very active on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. So make sure to follow us on there for the latest updates. And we have a really awesome public newsletter as well, where we kind of give updates each week on, the state of crypto fundraising, and what we've been seeing in terms of crypto philanthropy. And we just launched a podcast as well, which you can see on our socials as well. So we really pride ourselves on interacting with the community and really want to get the word out there about the growth of the crypto philanthropy movement. As far as what everyone can do to get involved, really encourage you to go to our website and check out all the awesome nonprofits that accept cryptocurrency. And we have a donation marketplace right there on thegivingblock.com. You can search. It's super easy and searchable. You can look for your favorite cause, your favorite nonprofit, and make a donation. Make your first crypto donation in 3 easy steps, making it as a known donor or anonymous donor, whatever your preference is, right there on our website. And so what I would encourage everyone to do is just make their first donation. I think it's a very empowering, liberating moment. It's really easy to do. It takes less than 2 minutes. And it just feels really good, especially for us folks that are in the crypto space, especially when you're working at working in crypto finance and looking to kind of make an impact, and trying to see what else can be done and what the other possibilities are for cryptocurrencies. Making that first donation to a nonprofit or a cause that you care about feels so good. So we just encourage everyone to go to our website, check us out, check out our awesome nonprofits, and when you're ready, make a donation and join the crypto philanthropy movement.
That's awesome. Great way to close it. And is there a limit or a minimum amount that you can contribute?
Nope. We have donors that give anywhere from $1 to $100,000. So there's no minimum. We want people to give what they can, and every penny counts, honestly, in terms of making an impact. So really encourage everyone to go and check it out. And we have as year end comes, we're going to have a lot more campaigns as well that you guys will see out there with different partners.
Nice.
And there'll be a lot more I think interesting ways to kind of get involved, working through our different partners and integrations. So certainly stay tuned.
Well, thank you, Ben. This is great. Hopefully, folks that are listening, you're a little bit more knowledgeable about philanthropy and cryptocurrency, and you're a little bit more attracted to this. I envision one day, hopefully, that giving to your favorite nonprofit organization will be as maybe exciting as throwing some money at a random meme coin that can go up $100 million in market cap overnight, right? So think about those things. We are technically savvy, and there's the money out there, folks. So definitely think about that. What you want to do with it. And I really appreciate you taking the time, Ben. I'd like to thank everyone for joining here. We have Darielle, Mikkel, Zachary, Anthony, Patrick, Richard, Thomas. We have Tobias, Ronnie, Michael, Antonio. There are some other people that I cannot see in the audience, but I really appreciate you all for joining. Hopefully this has been a productive use of your time on a Friday as the summer is coming to a close. Next week we'll be taking a break because of different events that I have going on, but the following week, stay tuned for that. I'm going to be putting some posts out there. And Ben, thank you so much for your time. It's great to finally have this conversation, and look forward to following what you're doing and keeping in touch.
Thanks, Trevor.
Take care. Have a great one. Safe weekend. Bye, y'all.